Welcome back to the news today. This is a one-on-one. What is the right way to govern in a democracy? This question has obsessed all those concerned with politics, and with this week, it was asked again when the State Comptroller published a report on the expenses in the Prime Minister's official home. The Prime Minister's conduct was not immediately described as criminal, but his conduct was brought into question. With me tonight is Advocate Advisor Tomer Naor from the Movement for Quality Government in Israel. Good evening. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Lucy. Thank you for having me.
So, Tomer, let's try to understand why. I'm looking at the Prime Minister's office, I'm looking at the expenses, I looked at the Comptroller's report, and I asked myself, well, he is the Prime Minister. He needs to live in a good way, so
There's no doubt about it, Lucy, but what we're looking for, or what we're looking at, is the fact that in 1 year, or 2 years actually, the expenses of the Prime Minister residence, official residence, were actually doubled. So you're looking at 2008, 2007, about 200,000 shekel per year goes for cleaning the apartment and everything. And then in 2 years, it goes for almost 500,000 shekels. And then you ask yourself, was the home of Ehud Olmert was dirty? I guess not. So the question is not whether the expenses or the house should not be clean, or they should not eat, or they should not host, Barack Obama when he comes. But how do they do that, and what do they spend the money on?
So this brings me to the question, should democracy, or should the people who control democracy or lead a democracy should have limits?
And that's the good question. Actually, the Comptroller is talking about that. He says that none of the costs were actually above the cost ceiling because there was no cost ceiling. So the question is, everything that is not allowed is forbid, and we say that the Prime Minister, the citizen #1 in Israel, should set an example. So we're not looking for the days in the 50s and the 60s. They keep saying David Ben Gurion or Menachem Begin. They lived in a hat and they slept on in the airplanes.
Yeah, because we cannot compare back then.
We don't want to compare them to them, but we do want to say that prices in Israel are quite expensive, and people looking up to you, they don't want you to be driving 88 Chevy or something, but they do want you to be a bit more humble. They want you to be at least not as hedonist as you are. And I think he gets it, but he gets it a little bit too late.
So what should be the limits? What are the limits that we're talking about?
We want to set a norm, basically. So don't live your life too shiny, even if you have the money. And by the way, our Prime Minister is quite wealthy. He used to give a lot of lectures. And have your limits. There's no right or wrong in that. I think the Comptroller is talking about it. There should be some kind of norms of proportionality, of saving. Live your life in a way that people can look at you and say, that's my Prime Minister, he gave me an example. So,
what's the problem? Because today I spoke about it with a journalist who came from abroad, and I tried to explain to him, because maybe we all missed the target. We missed the target because we spoke so much about the behavior of Prime Minister, of his wife, of the way that they're not humble. They're not looking at the people in the wrong way, in the right way. They are not behaving in the right way. And the amount of time that we targeted them in the media, it got to the point that right now, when we are hearing these numbers, when we are hearing these horrible, maybe it is a horrible way to behave, it just became to the people who are going to vote just another thing. Okay, so again the media is attacking Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and again he is is getting stronger in the polls.
Some will say, Lucy, that actually serves him, because some will say that the people who vote for Benjamin Netanyahu are the people who kept feeling like the media is against them and they're the victims. And here, look at this guy, he's the victim as well. And maybe, as you said before, we want him to be wealthy and we want him to be shining and we want our Prime Minister to live in a great house with a great car. But in one hand, I think it serves him as well, because we keep forgetting that he is the Prime Minister Israel, and I won't say anything politic in here. I come from a non-politic movement, but also I have to mention that Likud party is the only one that yet haven't given the voters any list of what they're going to do after they're going to be re-elected. So the fact that now we're sitting here and we talk about what's Benjamin Netanyahu is eating and where does he drive and about his pool in Caesarea, we don't talk about...
We know, because everybody's talking about his big plan with Iran and Daesh and Hamas and security.
Do you heard anything about his economic plan? How does he going to treat the big monopolies, the gas, the extremely expensive prices of living in Israel? We have no idea about that.
Of course you have no idea, because, and I will say something political here, because he gave it on the table, and his card is security, and security is what is important in Israel.
And that's one thing, and then again, so we open the newspapers today, and we read about the battles of the wife of Benjamin, which is a very important thing, and I'll say, we keep using the word corruption. Basically, if you read the Comptroller special reports, there's not a lot of criminal act in the behavior of the Prime Minister and his wife, although there is, and I will say, some kind of moral corruption even, but we talk about that. We will not talk about his political plans in the economy, society. You're right, we will talk about his big plans for Iran, whether he's going to attack or not, but that is something we should talk about.
What I'm trying to understand, what I'm trying to see here is where do you see from your perspective the state of Israel is heading? Because we dealt with a lot of corruption in the last few years. We dealt with the corruption of the ex-Prime Minister.
Although I have to say, when he was the mayor of Jerusalem.
When he was the mayor of Jerusalem, Ehud Olmert. We dealt with corruption of Fuad Ben Eliezer. We dealt with corruption of a finance minister who's sitting in jail, of mayors, of people who are actually
and we actually now in the middle of a big one.
This country. So what is happening to Israel that is allowing so many people to actually go in the corruption way and say, okay, this is an easier, and of course the last scandal is with Israel Beitenu.
So I'll say two things about it. First, I have my own theory. As a person who works for 3 years now for the movement for quality governments in Israel, I kind of live those kind of topics. I actually see it as a positive thing at the moment, because I think that those things happened before and no one was able to talk about it. And I think something changed in the language we speak. We keep looking for those people. Like,
something changed, or we're more out there?
We're more out there, we're more aware, and just to think Ehud Olmert was convicted of taking money, bribe money, and people, I'm from Jerusalem. For years, people knew that something is wrong over there. We kept looking at those big buildings, and it was like, it's impossible that, how come those buildings get permission? And now we're sitting here and we talk about 4,000 shekels the Prime Minister's wife took in battles. So what I'm saying is that I believe that the fact that we talk about those things is not because they never happened before, rather because now the public atmosphere, the media atmosphere is willing to accept those things. And I'm optimistic, you know me.
Yes. And
I believe that once we do our laundry out there in the sunlight, that strengthens our society as a civil society, as a democracy as well. I'm kind of proud of my country that is able to deal with those things out there. To criticize, exactly.
What I'm maybe trying, do you think that we like, I'm looking at the society and I'm saying, okay, are we going in a good way or we're going in a bad way? Because it seems that even showing the people that it's bad, they're telling you, okay, that's it. This is Israel.
I give a lot of lectures to youth and students, and once every couple of lectures I keep hearing, everybody are thieves in the politics. So we might just have the biggest thieves as the Prime Minister because he knows how to deal with the other thieves. I think we're going in a good direction, but we still have a lot, no one can educate the society. I think was Churchill who said democracy, like if you want to know about democracy, go ask the average voter.
Yeah.
We have a party in the parliament today with a convicted criminal who sat time in prison, and he's probably going to be re-elected, and who knows, maybe going to see going to be sit in the government. I don't know. No one can educate the society. I do think, Lucy, that we're heading to a better place.
Tomer Naor, something that I can say is that Israelis have short memory.
Yeah, that's
true.
The biggest, that's true. But today with the social networks and no one forgets anymore.
That's the biggest problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucy, for having
me. Thank you, our viewers, for being with us. Tomorrow we'll be here again.